What's going on YouTube? Thanks for tuning into the channel. Welcome to Oh So Simplified, coming to you with the video here about you need to limit the distractions. Now, as I've mentioned many times before, this is a very transparent channel. So this video is honestly coming from something I'm experiencing mixed in with something I saw that kind of resonated with me. But basically that you need to stay focused on what you're doing. And what you want to do and what your goals are, no matter what happens in your life. So recently for me, I know it's still pretty early from like New Year's to be like completely off your New Year's resolutions, and it's not like I failed completely, but I definitely haven't been putting in the work that I need to on all fronts. And I'll be honest, and for me, if you guys seen my free agent lifestyle video and watched it to the end, it's kind of my biggest argument about MGTOW. It is an issue for me, is that, like, to use Coach Greg Adams' word, the peace leave sometimes can distract me. Between that, between some of the issues that I'm having at work, between some other things, it's easy to get caught up in the sauce and just like off of your own game. And what I saw earlier was, I was like, during like my lunchtime, I was listening to a live stream. Coach EO, if you know of him, he has his own channel, Champion Game. He was basically doing a live stream talking da-da-da-da-da-da. And one of the people, when I hopped in, just asked a question. They were like, Coach EO, how do I improve my game? Now, they were kind of speaking to it from like a male to female dynamic, but I kind of liked his answer, and it's honestly the reason why I like his content, because I resonated with it, that most of his game is not really specific to the woman. It's more just specific to how you should be conducting yourself in life. And he was like, I don't generally look at game, in terms of like trying to find movies where people are picking up chicks. He's like, I more look at it just from like game and how people act. And he named two different movies. Well, he named three movies, but two movies that I've seen a lot, and I resonate a lot, and I've actually felt the same way. One is Catch Me If You Can, and I'm gonna use my favorite lines. He didn't really give lines, but these are my favorite lines of these movies that are gonna kind of illustrate this topic, and that I always have etched in my brain. So Catch Me If You Can is one of my favorite movies. I can't tell you how many jobs it's helped me get. It is what I use to pump me up for interviews, especially for interviews I don't feel like I'm fully qualified for, because it basically shows me how to, like, kind of shuck and jive and move in the right way and talk, and gives me that confidence. But one of the things is, the scene is basically, if you don't know the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio is like a teenage kid that is committing fraud, and he can't be caught, and Tom Hanks is basically chasing him. And at one point during Christmas, Leonardo DiCaprio calls Tom Hanks, kind of like toying with him about like, you can't catch me, but also you find out that he's lonely and he doesn't really have anybody to talk to. But one of the things he says to Tom Hanks, when Tom Hanks is telling him, he's like, I'm gonna catch you, this is gonna end at some time, why don't you turn yourself in? He goes, Carl, he's like, do you know why the Yankees always win the World Series? And this takes place years and years ago, so they had Mickey Mantle and stuff back then. And he goes, what? It's not because, and then Tom Hanks is like, what? It's not because they have Mickey Mantle? He goes, no, it's because the other team can't stop staring at the pinstripes. And what that shows you about the distraction is that they're not paying attention to the game. They're caught up in, the flash of what they see. They're caught up in the shiny object. And that is what they're paying attention to. And then when it comes to actually performing on the day, there's hesitation, there's doubt, and there's mistakes, and there's lack of focus and lack of, attention to the problem at hand. And the next movie and that's really, I want to use that to kind of exemplify what I mean by, like, you can't get caught up by the distractions. If you really want to move forward and you want to progress, you can't be pulled in 20 different directions. And I think the one from Heat, which is the second movie that he said about having like the game, and more about the game of life, not the game of how it's used colloquially in terms of kicking it to a girl or something like that, or if you're a woman kicking it to a guy. In the movie Heat, basically De Niro is like I think a big drug dealer, and Al Pacino is basically a policeman that's chasing him. So it's a very similar situation as Catch Me If You Can in that respect in terms of the scene, where both of them are in a diner, and it's in a situation where like Al Pacino can't really arrest Robert De Niro at this point, and he's basically questioning him. They're having somewhat of a cordial conversation. He's like, you know, basically he's asking him, how can you have like a wife and a normal life? He's like, so what do you tell it like normal life while you're a criminal, because you're always on the run, you can always be captured, and you can't really like what do you even tell her? He's like, I tell her I'm a salesman. And then he's like, so like what are you gonna do if anything happens? Like what if, you know, the heat comes? That's why they keep calling it heat. And then he was like, well, don't ever attach yourself to anything that you cannot leave in 30 seconds flat. When you feel the heat coming around the corner, that's the discipline. And I'm paraphrasing, I haven't seen the movie, I'm just spitting this off the top, I just got that kind of memory. But basically I think this really exemplifies what I'm saying. And not saying that you need to be a crazy drug dealer that's on the run, but what he's saying is that my focus, what I'm doing, is so important. There is nothing in this world, not a woman, not a situation, not a house, not a, you know, a community in his sense, but in your life, it's like not a job, not a boss, not your parents, not your current situation, not a girl, not your wife, not a girlfriend, nothing. In 30 seconds or less, you should be able to just say, you know, I'm cut off from that, and I gotta focus on this. I gotta focus on what I gotta do. And that's a big thing that I've been realizing recently. And specifically with this channel, this is, I mean, I've been posting around at least once a week, but I want to get that up. And I've already, if you watch my other video, which I don't think it looks like a lot of people watch it all the way to the end, basically I'm going to be posting the other channels I created. I'm basically going to be posting those videos in this channel for probably the next 3 months, until I get that habit down pat. But that's really it for this one. I just really wanted to focus on the fact that, you know, there's always going to be a ton of things pulling you in different directions, whether it's social media, whether it's, you know, other situations, and just life in general. But you have to stay on task. You have to stay focused on what you want to do, especially if you want to make it turn into anything. You can't, you know, sacrifice. And especially when it's other people, because they might guilt you, they might try to make you feel bad, they might try to, you know, pull on your heartstrings, especially if you're a caring person, when you know what's best for you, you know what you need to do, and you know what you need to focus on. And that's really where this video is coming from. Is like, you know, you have to cut out the distractions. You have to be solid with your time management and energy management to focus on your most important tasks, and not be distracted by what might be fun in the moment, what other people want, and just random life circumstances that are coming in. You know, you have to focus on the game and not the pinstripes of the other team. And you have to be willing to, you know, walk away from anything that is pulling you away from your ultimate goal, purpose, or whatever you want to call it, objective, mission. I could name you a bunch of different synonyms for this. But that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning into the channel. If you like the content, like, comment, subscribe. If you didn't like it, dislike the video. Any feedback will do. And until next time, you know what it is. Peace out.